Quote of the day: life is a stage, but the best performances aren't scripted. They are the laughs that slip out, the hugs that last too long, and the courage to show up even when you feel out of tune. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Josiah chapter 1 verse 9. That is your quote of the day. Now let's get right into this video. Now, I just finished watching Garbage Palooza, and let me tell you, it was worse than I could even possibly imagine. You're telling me this was for $30. 30 This was for $30 a month. And this is what we're getting for $30 a month. And this is what people are going to be paying $30 a month from now on for. This product, this Garbage Palooza, this was the first ever ESPN show. And this is what they delivered to us. Oh my God. Like, mind you, this wasn't terrible. You know, this wasn't like the worst PLE I've ever seen. But for $30, this was not passable for $30. Who's going to be paying $30 for this nonsense? $30 a month at that. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. And what even was that John Cena and Brock Lesnar match? I lost my mind, and we're going to get into that nonsense. What even was that? You're telling me you waste one of John Cena's last appearances on that nonsense? On a squash match that wasn't even 10 minutes long? Oh, Jesus Christ. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, full transparency. For Garbage Palooza, I did genuinely enjoy 3 out of the 5 matches we saw, We had 5 matches on this card, and I enjoyed 3 out of 5 of them, I enjoyed that mixed tag team match, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins versus AJ Lee, and CM Punk. That was match of the night for me, I really did enjoy that. That was amazing, in my opinion. I enjoyed the Io Sky and Stephanie Valkyria match. That was really good, in my opinion, too. And the last match that I did really enjoy was the Usos versus the Bronze match. That match was better than I thought it would be. But besides that, though, the other 2 matches, that Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre match, so anticlimactic. Like, it fell so flat for me. Like, I was watching, I didn't even care to begin with too much, honestly, but like, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I expected so much more from it. And the ending, it just boom, ended so abruptly. I expected something to happen after the match, something to happen during the match. Nothing happened, no returns. And the ending, just one crossroads, and that was it. I'm like, dude, what even was this? And this is the treatment Drew McIntyre's getting. And you got that John Cena nonsense match. Oh my Lord Jesus Christ. That was so infuriating. You're telling me John Cena now only has 5 appearances left, and you wasted one of them on this Brock Lesnar nonsense. No story, no nothing. The match was even worse than the build. Come on. And this was for $30. Mind you, I'm not gonna let that go. This was for $30. 30 for products like Garbage Palooza. $30 a month. This was insane. This was absolutely bonkers. This was egregious. And to make matters worse, on this $30 a month show, mind you, right? You're paying $30 a month to watch this product, and you're getting ads throughout the whole entire show from start to finish for $30 of your own hard-earned money. Jesus, we had ads, we had nonsense, and we had this whole Drake theme, and I'm like, if I hear baby girl, let me see you do your dance, let me see you twirl, if I hear that one more time, I will lose my mind. Why was that even the theme of it? It didn't match anything. Like, if we got this WrestlePalooza like PLE and it was at like, Peacock prices, on Peacock, for whatever Peacock was charging, this would have been, absolutely passable. This might have even been amazing. But for $30, this was egregious, and this was criminal. Okay, this was criminal. But anyhow, just so this video is not too long, let's just get right into review and talk about what actually happened on this terrible Garbage Palooza show, Let's talk about what happened. We got a speech from the bald fraud goof himself, He made his way out to the ring saying, "Can you feel it?" And I'm like, can you feel what? The atmosphere? No. Good booking? No. Good storytelling? No. Are we going to get good matches? No. What are you talking about? Can you feel it? Can you feel what? What are you even talking about at this point? So the bald fraud goof Triple H comes out, he's like, "Can you feel it? You're about to witness the final form of sports entertainment." And I'm like, Triple H, what are you talking about at this point, buddy? Talking about some "can you feel it?" and you're about to witness the final form of sports entertainment. And he says, "Welcome to WWE, welcome to ESPN, and welcome to WrestlePalooza." And that's how the whole, show starts off, with Triple H just welcoming everyone to ESPN, to WWE, and to WrestlePalooza. And that was that. And then after this, we got Pat McAfee making his return back into commentary, which was pretty cool, I guess. So after that big opener, all that nonsense, we finally got to PLE, we finally got to the event and we finally got to the matches. And our first match of the night was the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, versus the greatest of all time, the never seen 17, the last real champion, John Cena. And before this even started, I honestly thought this was supposed to be the main event. I heard it was supposed to be the main event. I don't know what happened, why it changed, but now that I've seen the match, it makes sense why it wasn't the main event. Imagine if that's how the show ended. We would have been rioting, okay? I understand why it wasn't the main event now, so I'm going to let it slide, but I thought it was supposed to be the main event. But anyhow, though, John Cena had a pretty awesome entrance, honestly. He came out with a group full of kids, and all the kids, they were so joyous. They were so excited, and I was so happy for them. They came out, and they were enjoying the moment with their hero John Cena. It was such an amazing moment, such a cool moment, and I'm happy for all the kids that got the opportunity to be out there. I'm happy that John Cena did this for them. It was such a nice moment. But anyhow, we finally got to the match, and John Cena gets announced as, the last real champion, all this and all that. And then we got the weirdest thing where Paul Heyman came out to, make an introduction for the Beast, Brock Lesnar. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense whatsoever, because Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, they basically abandoned each other. Paul Heyman turned on Brock Lesnar, basically. So I'm like, why is he even out here introducing Brock Lesnar? I'm like, this is pretty cool if you don't think about it. Like, they're not even on the same page at this point. Like, yes, he used to be with Brock Lesnar, but he backstabbed him and left Brock Lesnar for Roman Reigns. So, like, why is he out here being buddy-buddy with Brock Lesnar, introducing him as the Beast Incarnate, stuff like that. I'm like, where's the correlation? But whatever. Anyhow, the match starts and Brock Lesnar absolutely manhandled John Cena, He was tossing John Cena around like a sack of potatoes, and he was swatting John Cena away like a mosquito, man. John Cena was not even a threat. He was a non-factor in this match. John Cena literally got a one-way ticket to Suplex City, John Cena ate some suplexes, and John Cena in this match ate at least like 10 F5s, and I'm not even exaggerating. But anyhow, before he got to all that, John Cena's got tossed around. He got swatted away like a mosquito. And John Cena ended up actually getting like one good piece of offense in there, and he hit 3 consecutive AAs on Brock Lesnar, which Brock Lesnar then proceeded to kick out of 1, After this, John Cena went on to eat 6 consecutive F5s from Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar pinned John Cena 1, 2, 3. And the Beast Brock Lesnar beats John Cena, and that was the whole match. The referee even got F5 after the match, which made really little to no sense. It was just for the shock factor of it, And after Brock Lesnar wins the match, he F5s the referee. He then hits John Cena with a last F5 to just basically stamp it. And this whole match was so anticlimactic, Like, Jesus, I don't know who booked this nonsense, who wrote it, whose idea this was, but they need to be fired immediately. They need to be fired like yesterday, man. Jesus, this was so bad. It was literally a squash match for one of John Cena's last appearances ever. I'm like, come on. And the ending was so anticlimactic. When Brock Lesnar won, like, literally no reaction. People did not care. We wanted to see John Cena. Like, I'm fine with John Cena losing, but at least make it a good match. This man, John Cena, he literally has 5 appearances left, and you're wasting it on a squash match. And I'm telling you, if we get another match out of this because of this squash match, if we get another event, another appearance wasted on this Brock Lesnar thing, I'm going to lose my absolute mind, okay? But anyhow, let's just keep moving on. This was absolutely atrocious. We're just going to move on, After this, we got to our second match of the night, and it was the Brons versus the Usos with LA Knight as special guest referee. And I don't know why LA Knight was special guest referee. I don't know why we needed him as special guest referee, but we got him as special guest referee, And them announcing that LA Knight was going to be special guest referee, we already knew that there was going to be a whole bunch of shenanigans, a handful of shenanigans. And we got the most obnoxious thing before this match even started, We got 3. I repeat, 3 entrances from the Usos. We got 1 Uso penitentiary entrance, and they did the Yeet entrance twice after that. 3 entrances. This was obnoxious, so uncalled for, such a waste of time, But anyway, one notable thing that I can say was that LA Knight as referee was actually pretty entertaining, And thanks to LA Knight, this match actually turned out to basically be a no disqualification match, which made it even more interesting in my opinion. Anyhow, moving on to the match, this was actually a pretty entertaining match. I enjoyed this, and the crowd absolutely sold this. They made it feel so special. The crowd was so lively and so engaged in this match. They made it feel even better than it actually was, And the crowd probably made this match feel better than it was. It probably wasn't even as good as I'm remembering, but the crowd made it feel so much bigger than it actually was. And I really did enjoy that. The crowd was reacting for everything, The crowd was really lively, and the in-ring action was actually pretty good too, in my opinion. We got chairs, we got tables, and shenanigans from start to finish. So it was a really fun match. But anyways, at the end of the match, Jey Uso got busted open. I think he went to hit Bron Breakker with a steel chair shot, and the steel chair ended up bouncing off Bron Breakker's shoulder and smacked him in the face, and it busted him open for real. And he was leaking. And I'm pretty sure Jey Uso or LA Knight called an audible for the match to finish even quicker. So I don't know if this was supposed to be the outcome we're supposed to get. Maybe it was the outcome and they just rushed it, or maybe something else was going to happen. But yeah, after Jey Uso got busted open, the match ended pretty quickly. But anyhow, at the end of the match, the Usos ended up getting speared through a table, and Bronson Reed ended up hitting a tsunami on Jey Uso for the win, and the Brons picked up the win over the Usos. And I absolutely hope and pray to God that this is the end of this story, and this is the end of this whole arc, and this is the end of this nonsense. This vision, the Usos LA Knight thing, does not need to continue. It does not need to go any further than Garbage Palooza. This should have been the final chapter. And if it's not, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay. So moving on. After this, we got to our third match, and it was La Primera, Stephanie Vaquer versus the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky. And I'm not gonna lie, this match started off really slow in my opinion. From the start of the match, from the start to the middle, the crowd was absolutely like dead silent. Like they were silent. Like they could not care less, because the match generally started off really slow. Like the moves, the sequences, it wasn't there. It wasn't hitting for the first, like, I want to say the first 5 minutes of this match. But then near the middle to end, that's when it really picked off, and that's when the crowd started getting really behind it. The sequences started getting better, the moves started getting better, the spots were cooler, there was more entertaining, more energy got put into it. So that was that. And throughout this match, one thing that bothered me that I was noticing was that we got a lot of drone shot camera angles, and it bothered me so much because the camera shot looked so terrible. It looked so unrefined. And every time we got like this drone shot, they switched to it. Like it just pulled me out of the match. Like I literally could not focus. I'm like, why are we even getting this? And like when they're doing the drone shot, they zoom out so much that like you could barely even focus on it. Like they want you to see the whole arena at once, the commentators table, the announcers table, the wrestlers, people in the top tippity top of the stadium. I'm like, dude, just put it on the match. Let people watch the match. We're paying for the match. We're not paying to see the crowd. I'm not paying to see Michael Cole. I'm trying to watch the match. Stop switching to this like weird drone shot showing people like the entrance ramp and stuff like that. I'm like, why? What was the point of that? And like that drone shot really, it was bothering me throughout the match because they kept switching back and forth to it. And I'm like, I don't know if I was the only one that got bothered by this. Maybe it bothered you guys too. Let me know. But like, it really bothered me. Like it was such like an annoying thing, And I just felt like it was just so unnecessary. But anyhow, though, like I said, the match started picking up near the middle. The spots got a lot better. Like I said, we got better sequences, more energy, and like, just more fun stuff, more entertaining spots and sequences, reversals, moves, and, high flying moves and stuff like that, from both competitors. And in this match, we saw a devil's kiss, we saw a Spanish fly, and a crazy off the top rope 360 spiral tap from Stephanie Vaquer onto Io Sky to win the match. And that was probably one of the cleanest off the top rope moves I've ever seen anybody do. It was so clean, it landed perfectly, And I'm like, dude, I saw it and I was like, what even was that? I like rewinded like 3 times just to make sure I saw that correctly. I'm like, it was so smooth, like butter. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But anyhow, though, Stephanie Vaquer ended up picking the win over Io Sky, and she is your new Raw Women's Champion, And overall, I honestly enjoyed this match, and I'm really happy for Stephanie Vaquer. She's an amazing performer, and I'm happy she got the championship. It was either her or Io Sky, and honestly, I wouldn't be mad whoever got it. Both of these women, they're amazing in the ring, and I don't mind either of them holding it. So I'm really happy, Vaquer got it, and she's the new Raw Women's Champion now. Anyhow, after this, we got to our 4th match of the night, and it was the mixed tag team match, and it was Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus CM Punk and the returning AJ Lee. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch had a pretty unique entrance. It was a bit goofy, but definitely unique. They had like this Ric Flair looking robe on, both of them, and like they were on a elevated platform that was just coming from the sky down. I know it was goofy, but it looked unique, like I said. Anyhow, throughout this match, the funniest thing I noticed was that the crowd was chanting for CM Punk to hit Becky Lynch with a GTS, and this was absolutely hilarious. Like every time Becky Lynch went to slap CM Punk, push him around, the crowd was like, GTS, 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 and I was just laughing my head off, The crowd was absolutely against Becky Lynch. They just wanted to see her get her comeuppance, and I'm like, Jesus, they're chanting for CM Punk to hit her with a GTS. But anyhow, though, to start the match, CM Punk and Seth Rollins were the first two to lock horns, and they're the first two to, get it started, and CM Punk and Seth Rollins had this, like, they started it off, and it was pretty standard stuff, stuff we've seen before, nothing too crazy, nothing too memorable. They started off with, like, it was basically a standard match from them, when they first started off. And throughout this, we got, like, interferences and cheap shots from both Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, Becky Lynch did start off, attacking CM Punk, and AJ Lee was just returning the favor and attacking Seth Rollins to get her get back, just to even out the playing field. And that was kind of like the whole shenanigan we got throughout the match. Becky Lynch getting involved, AJ Lee returning the hits and stuff like that. And that just went on throughout the whole entire match. And a pretty shocking spot that happened was that Seth Rollins ended up actually body slamming his own wife, which was pretty crazy. And I was like, dude, that's going to be a long conversation in the car ride home, in the plane ride home. That's going to be a long conversation. But anyhow, near the middle of the match, Becky Lynch and AJ Lee finally got their one-on-ones and, they finally ran their ones. And AJ Lee absolutely whooped Becky Lynch. She pulled out high-flying moves, slaps, kicks, slams, clotheslines, and everything in between. AJ Lee looked absolutely amazing in the ring, She showed that she still had it, and the crowd was actually chanting, "You still got it, you still got it," and it was a really fun moment, And AJ Lee was nimble in the ring. She was fast. She was keeping up. It was pretty cool seeing that from her. And we went on to get like some pretty cool spots. We got a double submission spot from both CM Punk and AJ Lee. And then Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins ended up hitting a double pedigree on both AJ Lee and CM Punk. So that was pretty cool. It was a pretty neat back and forth we saw from them. And during this match, we actually saw CM Punk and Becky Lynch actually face off, like actually, they were throwing hands at each other, not like, throwing hands, but like CM Punk put Becky Lynch in a submission hold, Becky Lynch put CM Punk in a submission hold, and AJ Lee and Seth Rollins were going at each other, and stuff like that. Seth Rollins was pulling AJ Lee's legs and stuff like that, and, pulling her out the ring, and AJ Lee was putting Seth Rollins in the Black Widow submission and everything. So like everybody was getting their licks in. So it was fair all around, so no complaints, But at the end of the match, AJ Lee ended up putting Becky Lynch in the Black Widow submission for the win, and that was the match. CM Punk and AJ Lee ended up coming out on top, and they picked up the W over Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Now, while this was absolutely unserious, it was definitely match of the night in my opinion. It was very unserious, but definitely match of the night. This was my favorite match we got, and this was probably the best match of the card in my opinion. This was absolutely incredible. It was incredibly entertaining, and I don't really have much complaints for this match. This was my favorite match of the card and my favorite match of the night. But anyways, after this, we got a meaningless appearance from the retired Undertaker, and it was literally just for the cheap pop. This moment literally did not need to happen. And he was basically talking to Stephanie McMahon about how she is going to be the first inductee into the 2026 Hall of Fame, And the Undertaker was basically just breaking the news to Stephanie McMahon, and she got emotional, stuff like that, which was pretty cool. It really didn't need to happen at WrestlePalooza, but like I'm glad it happened. I'm happy for Stephanie, but it was just a bit awkward. And let me just say, this whole thing has Triple H written all over it. Imagine Triple H inducts himself, and now his wife is getting inducted right after him. I'm like, dude, this has Triple H written all over it. And like Stephanie McMahon absolutely deserves it. I'm just saying, it's like the timing. It was just, right after Triple H, like, you're not slick with this one, big man. But anyhow, after this, we finally made it to our main event, and it was the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre, Drew McIntyre versus the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. And this match, I don't know if I like this match or not. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. This match, it wasn't terrible by any means, But we just had too many questionable spots and too many questionable decisions throughout this match. Like, one thing that bothered me is, like, the referee kept stopping Drew McIntyre's offense. Like, Drew McIntyre was lining up Cody Rhodes for different moves, different spots. And the referee was just jumping in. You're like, Drew, don't do this, don't do this. I'm like, it's a match. Let these boys fight. Let them throw hands. Let them throw feet. Let them throw chairs. Let them fight. Why are you stopping one competitor, but you're not stopping the other? Like, you stopped Drew McIntyre from Claymore kicking Cody Rhodes' head through the announcer's table, but Cody Rhodes does something even worse, and you just let it happen. If you're stopping Drew McIntyre, then you should be stopping Cody Rhodes as well. Like, it was just so weird, and I didn't like that aspect at all. Like, it was just unexplainable stuff from the ref, and just too many unexplainable things in this match in general. And that ending, Jesus Christ, it was so anticlimactic. Like, I just expected so much more. I expected like something different, maybe something more unique, something more shocking. But it was just, like I said, just a straight anticlimactic finish. Cody Rhodes basically just hit one crossroads on Drew McIntyre, and that was it. And that was the match, which was just silly in my opinion, because like the events leading up to it made no sense. So Drew McIntyre lines up Cody Rhodes for a Claymore kick through the announcer's table. The referee stops him. Drew McIntyre then goes to do it, because the referee stopped him. Cody Rhodes had enough time to recover, and Cody Rhodes rolls out the way, and Drew McIntyre injures his legs. Drew McIntyre rolls back in the ring, and I'm like, if Drew McIntyre is injured due to referee, getting involved, why is the referee still counting for a disqualification? But anyhow, Drew McIntyre rolls back in the ring, and then Cody Rhodes went on to use the opportunity, take advantage of the opportunity to hit Drew McIntyre with a crossroads, and the referee absolutely didn't do anything. He didn't check on the fact that Drew McIntyre was injured. None of that. He let Cody Rhodes do whatever Cody Rhodes wanted to do, and Cody Rhodes just ended up hitting one crossroads, and that was the match. And Drew McIntyre lost like that, and that was it. Like, it was just so anticlimactic, like I said, I expected more from this match. I expected more in general. I expected a return or something cool, something shocking. And from this whole show in general, from Garbage Palooza, I just expected a lot more, especially for $30 of our hard-earned money, the fans in general. Like, come on. Come on. But anyway, so that was your whole show, And I would rate Garbage Palooza overall a solid 6 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10, but I'll be generous and I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because I did enjoy 3 out of the 5 matches we got. But like I said, though, this definitely was not worth $30. It's definitely not worth $30 a month, That is absolutely insane. It was insane. It still is insane. It will continue to be insane. $30 a month for this, it's save your money, please. Don't do that to yourself unless you really want to. But man, this nonsense is not worth $30 a month. And like I said, for $30 a month, this was not passable for a PLE at all. At all. And as a matter of fact, because it was $30 a month, I'm deducting another point. I'm rating this a 5 out of 10 because of that $30 a month point. Like, come on. 5 out of 10 overall. I changed my mind. 5 out of 10, okay? Like, this was not worth $30 a month. It was not passable. And like I said at the beginning, if this was on Peacock, if this was at Peacock prices and this is what we got, this would have been, very much passable. This would have been even amazing, potentially. But for $30 a month, this was egregious. This was insane. This was absolutely criminal. And especially for the first show on ESPN, I thought it would be a lot better. I thought we'd get like some bigger moments, less nonsense. But no, we got a garbage PLE with a handful of questionable matches. And that's what WWE wants you to pay $30 a month for PLEs like this, man. But anyhow, though, that's my review and my breakdown of Garbage Palooza, of WrestlePalooza. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for hearing me out. And thank you for being here. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to. And like, comment, and subscribe if you choose to. As always, it's been a pleasure. I'm out.